Is.
This has blown my mind. Yeah, it's not been easy being a DC fan these last 7 years.
Yeah, but I gotta admit, I mean, between Goosebumps and getting enthusiastic, I gotta say, Warner Bros. And DC, they're not giving us the chance to breathe. Those last couple of months have been really full. A lot of announcements, a lot of reports, a lot of rumors. We couldn't breathe. But again, that's the fun of being a comic book fan these days.
Before we were discussing when DC fandom was first announced, me and you had a podcast about 3 weeks ago and we were talking about what we hoped was going to happen with DC fandom, and what me and you were saying was, the biggest hope would be Henry Cavill will be confirmed as a return for Superman. Oh my god, the amount of stuff that's came out since. I mean, Henry Cavill just seems like a passing comment at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But Jake, let's get into it. We better start this week with a big subject. This one came totally out of the blue. I mean, there was no warning where this was coming from. It happened about 10 days ago. We had Ray Fisher, of course, our Cyborg. He starred in Batman vs Superman, Justice League. We do understand he's going to appear in the upcoming The Flash movie from Andy Muschietti. And of course he's going to appear in Zack Snyder's upcoming Justice League, which will debut in early 2021 on HBO Max. But they took to Twitter, Jake, and he said he posted a video. He took to Twitter and he posted a video from San Diego Comic-Con, I think it was in 2017, where, of course, Justice League was being paraded. That was set for a November release in 2017. And it was a clip of basically Ray Fisher saying that Zack picked a great guy, Joss Whedon, and he's basically praising Joss, saying he's a great guy, and he's the perfect guy to finish off Zack's vision. Well, this week, Ray Fisher tweeted that video with a response saying, "I'd like to take a moment to forcefully retract every bit of this statement." So that was a bit like, whoa, really? Like, we know the stuff for the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League, and the fact that Ray Fisher was meant to be a major character in Justice League, and he was pushed, his character was almost made like a side character in the movie. So that was a bit of a shock when we saw that. A few days later, Ray Fisher continued his rant against Joss Whedon and said the follows: "Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by Jeff Johns and John Berg." And the tweet ends with, "Accountability, entertainment." So Jake, this was massive. It was completely out of the blue. We know that a lot of people were unhappy with certain aspects of Joss Whedon's cut of the movie. We've heard slight rumours and speculation about certain things that happened on the set, but again, nothing official, nothing came from anybody that was actually involved in the movie. It was all people who were speculating about certain incidents, but we can't really comment on those because, again, it's all speculation. Variety, they reached out to Joss Whedon for a comment. Joss Whedon refused to comment on it. They reached out to Jeff Johns, who was another person mentioned in the tweet. He declined a comment. And they also reached out to John Berg, who at the time was part of the executive team alongside Jeff Johns overseeing DC movies. But John Berg was willing to give a response to Ray Fisher's comments, and John Berg said as follows: "Categorically untrue that we enabled any unprofessional behaviour while Justice League was in production." John Berg then went on in the statement, Jake, to say that all he remembers about the Ray Fisher and the production of the reshoots, all he remembers is, "I remember Fisher being upset that we wanted him to say booyah," which is a well-known saying of Cyborg in the animated series. Of course, John Berg is referring to Teen Titans animated series where Cyborg's famous catchphrase was booyah. And John Berg is saying in his response that Ray Fisher was unhappy with doing that. Now, Jake, this is a crazy situation. This is the first actor, main cast member that stepped out and actually publicly said anything negative about Joss Whedon. We do know that a lot of the main cast are very supportive of Zack Snyder. Of course, Zack hired them. When they signed up to DC Films, they signed up to Zack Snyder's vision. But this is the first time an actor has came out and attacked Joss Whedon publicly. What do you think of this? Just give us your opinions. I'm not asking you to say, did it happen, did it not happen? We don't know. We weren't there. But I think it's important that we address what they said, give him the chance, because I give the benefit of the doubt. I wasn't there, but I trust Ray Fisher. I trust anybody's word. I want to give him the opportunity to have his say, and I want to hear what you have to say, Jake, on this.
Just like what you said, none of us were there. None of us really, saw what happened or worked with the studio. And if I want to speak about this, I mean, I gotta say my perspective, but I'm trying to, okay, I'm gonna make this more professional. I gotta say, if Ray decided to come after years of the movie's release and to talk about his terrible experience, I think I mean, I'm not gonna say praise him, but again, respect his decision. And again, the fact that the whole cast has been supporting the Snyder move, like not all of them, but most of them were supporting the Snyder move throughout the years. I mean, there's a point. But again, I don't want to, get mixed between opinions and different perspectives, but it's hard to not lean on a side sometimes because that's a sensitive topic. It's either you're on Joss's side or you're on Ray's side. So, I don't know, man. I mean, if it really happened or it didn't, again, we can't really say anything about it.
One thing I'll say, guys, is we do not condone any unacceptable behaviour in any movie set by any individual. If Joss Whedon was unprofessional, was abusive towards cast and crew members, then screw that guy. Then screw him. If he was on set and he was abusing actors, if he was forcing actors to do things they didn't want to do, then screw that guy. But until we have solid evidence that any of this happened, then it would be unfair of me to say screw Joss, because again, I don't have any evidence to back that up. But I'm going to, here in Detective Comic Talks and DC Daily Buzz, we want to talk about the big issues. We are DC film fans, so I am going to talk about this issue. What happened with Justice League? Nobody won. Zack didn't win because Zack was a guy who came into DC Films after Man of Steel. Warner Bros. Basically told him, you're the man. Gave him the keys to the kingdom. Let Zack build his DCEU the way he wanted to build it. And of course we know that it was dark. And it doesn't matter if I enjoy Zack Snyder's movies or I don't enjoy Zack Snyder's movies. The fact is, Warner Bros. Gave Zack that opportunity. They told Zack he was going to be the guy. And then after the release of Batman vs Superman, the bad reviews, the split from the fans, the poor, well, in the eyes of Warner Bros., the poor box office, because they projected Batman vs Superman was a minimum $1 billion hit. They decided, after Zack had already set up in Batman vs Superman the future of the DC movies, and is already heavily into pre-production of Justice League, Warner Bros. Decided to step in and say, sorry Zack, thank you for all your work, but bye-bye. And basically said to Zack, we don't need you anymore. And at that point, Zack already in pre-production of Justice League. I've said in this podcast before that I believe Justice League should have been pushed, but people at Warner Bros. Are more interested in making sure they got their bonus that year by making sure Justice League came out on the date they said, so that they could get their money and get their slice of the profits. That's all. That's why Justice League wasn't moved. If Warner Bros. Were truly clever about things, they would have pushed it, but they didn't. And of course, they kept Zack on. And Zack didn't even get to do the movie that he was planning on doing, because as we know, while production was going on, Warner Bros. Were constantly asking him to rewrite things and change things. They weren't happy about the response to Batman vs Superman. So I feel sorry for Zack in that sense. I also feel sorry in the sense of when Joss Whedon was brought in. I think that he was brought in by Warner Bros. And basically told, okay, we've got a movie that's already $300 million spent on it. It's already shot principal photography. It's basically lying out there in the middle of the ocean. Here you go, Joss, liven it up, make it a lot more family friendly and comedic. Here you go, that's what we want you to do. You've got 2-3 months to reshoot the film, go and do it. I have sympathy in the sense of Joss Whedon that is impossible in my opinion. We disagree, I know that personally we disagree on this, Jake, but I think that's impossible. I think to come in to a movie that's already 300 million deep, which has already got all the budget spent, see when Joss Whedon took over, I think it was the 1st or 2nd of January 2017, the movie was released in November 2017, so that's under a year before release. At that point, the movie should be shot and VFX should have started, but as we know, Zack was removed, so it meant that VFX hadn't even started on the movie. So already you're miles and miles behind. Joss comes on set, and of course, as you can imagine, Jake, when Joss walks on set, it's not Zack. People know these are two different directors. Joss Whedon is a guy, his whole career, not only is his 2 Marvel movies that he made, but his Buffy work and stuff like that. Joss is a director who always goes for the comedic stuff. That's his forte, and he's good at it. You know, we can disagree on Justice League. I am not going to sit here and say that Justice League is the Dark Knight perfection, you know. But I think that Joss was brought on to do a task, and to be fair to Joss, he did it. Whether or not he did it well, we can disagree on that, but he did it. And as you can imagine, Jake, when Joss came on set, he was met with mixed receptions by the cast, because they've all signed up to do Zack Snyder's vision. They've all signed up for the dark, you know, gothic, gloomy vision.
Yeah, I gotta disagree on Man of Steel. I mean, I think Man of Steel kind of caught a lot of great parts about the Superman comics, and also tried to stay realistic and, just like what you said, darker, you know?
Yeah, well, Man of Steel maybe is an exception. Yeah, I'll give Man of Steel the exception in the sense that Man of Steel has got good parts.
Batman versus Superman.
Man of Steel's got good parts in it. I still think Man of Steel's got a lot of issues in it, but I think it's, you know, I think there's definitely, watching Man of Steel, what they could have done post Man of Steel with a Man of Steel 2 and building up the universe could have been 10 times better than what they decided to do with Batman vs Superman. But anyway, more on to the point about Joss Whedon. He's came on set, he's got all these people who are all there for Zack, and basically Joss Whedon's man went, okay, we're going to do this, and it's going to be a completely different, you know, thing than what Zack was doing. It's more comic booky, and you're going to get people who are going to go, wait a minute, no, I never signed up for this. The Avengers, Justice League, people are always going to react like that, and of course you're going to have some people that are going to go and hustle over that because they're all pro Snyder, and as we've discovered now, the way Zack was removed was really shitty by Warner Bros. You know, the fact that they used the death of his daughter to remove him for the project, when he should have if Warner Bros. Didn't want Zack to do Justice League, they should have just removed him from Justice League and pushed the movie a year, and then brought in a director. Instead, Warner Bros. Kept Zack in the role until they could convince Joss Whedon to take on the task, and by that point it was far too late. In saying that, there's no excuses. If Joss Whedon was on set and somebody like Ray Fisher was saying, no, I don't want to do the Booyah line, you know, come on, that's Cyborg's line, that's his thing, you know. But if Ray Fisher was on set saying, no, I never signed up for the Booyah Cyborg, I signed up for the tormented Terminator, Robocop type Cyborg, I could imagine that things would get a bit heated, but that doesn't mean that Joss Whedon should take it out on the casting crew. Just because he's got a different vision from Zack doesn't give him any right to abuse or be unprofessional with any cast members. And if he did, as I say, screw him. Mm-hmm. But as I say, it's so difficult for me because I can totally understand Zack's position. You know, Zack put so much work into the DCEU. As much as I was a massive fan of what Zack was doing with my characters, I felt like he was doing things with the DC characters that were really uncomfortable. But I totally appreciate, from Zack's point of view, DC told him, DC knew what Zack was planning, and they allowed Zack to do it. And DC were far too late to step in and say, oh no, we don't like it. Because by the time DC stepped in, Zack had already set up the nightmare scenario in future Justice Leagues. He'd already teased Darkseid. There was so many things that Zack had set up. Warner Bros. Were far too late to step in. But that's where I would go to the blame. I would start with Kevin Tsujihara, was the former CEO of Warner Bros. I would put the blame on him.